Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, I'm not on speakerphone, I don't think. All right, how's it sound now? Okay, hopefully it'll clear up. No. Okay. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Yes, right, yeah. This is Yehonatan we with you here, Yahweh for Christians at gmail.com. So-called 29th of day of March 2020. And of course, I have important topics to talk about, but the white elephant in the room is COVID-19, novel COVID-19. And currently, as of the latest statistics that I found today, the state of Maryland has over 1,000 positive cases with 10 dead. United States, 123 plus thousand. Number one in the world, by the way, with over 2,000 dead. In the world, we're at 680,000 plus with 32,000 dead. But one of the numbers that's not really being reported on a lot is the amount that are recovered. We have 147,000 recovered in America, which is an 82% success rate. Important to me is Africa. The numbers, relatively speaking, look kind of low. 4,000 reported in Africa, but 1,100, over a quarter of them in South Africa alone. And that's very telling. Very telling. And dear to my heart is Nigeria. That's where my wife is from. And from what I'm seeing, only 97 confirmed cases of the novel COVID-19 virus. But I want to caution us, everyone's concerned about this, of course. No matter what else is going on in our lives, we're talking about the COVID-19 virus. Everybody's talking about corona. But one thing is, two things I've been saying for about 6 months now that none of the talking heads are addressing. And that is this one season-long dreary season that we're living in. It seems every day is the same day. Overcast, cloudy, mild temperatures, whether it's winter, spring, summer, or fall. A lot of rain, a lot of temperatures between 60 to 70 degrees, even in winter. Overcast, which is covering what you cannot see between the overcast and the dome of the earth. Because this wicked Luciferian people that we have here are doing things far greater than what you can imagine. And the timeline that we're in, I want to go to that, but I want to first talk about these 7 called out assemblies. Kawhawl Kawraw Sheba. Once we get through those 7 assemblies, that takes us to Shawut. And from there, I want to talk about where we are in this timeline, because currently we are under the 7 seals. And I can tell you exactly which one, but I want to go through this process first. But we are in the 7 seal time period. And the thing about this, the 7 called out ones, the Kawhawl Kawraw Sheba, is that this is a message straight from Yahweh Shua himself to Yakanan on the island of Patmos. Yakanan was sent to the island of Patmos because he survived being thrown in a vat of oil. Double jeopardy prevented them from killing him again. They couldn't kill him the first time, so he was relegated to the island of Patmos. From there, he was caught up in the spirit, and 7 malachim, which you call angels, took 7 letters from his hand and personally delivered them to these 7 assemblies in what is now called Turkey, Asia Minor, which is up there in Turkey. They personally came into each assembly, these malachim, which you call angels, and read these letters to the assembly. And it was, and the book of Revelations is more accurately called by the name Golah. And Golah is a Hebrew word for Yahweh's Hebrew people. This message in Revelations was written, these letters were written specifically to Hebrews. Last week, we talked about the first assembly, which is Ephesus. And Ephesus had a whole long list of great things they were doing for the Messiah. They had a good resume. But the one thing they got called out for was the most important thing of everything. They had no love. The believers in Ephesus were very good in doctrine. They had good leaders in doctrine, preaching good, strong sermons, vetting out who they thought was false, but they had no love. And that's an important thing. Look, even a dog knows if it's loved or not. Even a dog knows. Even a horse knows if you treat them right or not. They recognize if someone comes to them and treats them badly, they recognize that person and they pull away from that person. A horse would do that. A dog would do that. You think if an ass knows if it's treated right or wrong, you think that someone who is made after the image of the Most High Yahweh does not know if they're being treated right or not? Surely anyone who's worshiping in the assembly where there's no love needs to leave. It doesn't matter what they're preaching about, because there's no one being saved in the kingdom who doesn't love. Read John 17. Read Yahweh Shua's prayer, direct prayer from his mouth to his Father. How important he connected his name and truth to love. And if you want to know the elements of love, read 1 Corinthians 13. And you will see that where you're worshiping, if it is not matched 1 Corinthians 13, you need to leave. It don't matter what they talk about in that pulpit. Because here, Shaul says that the person preaching is a loud-sounding brass. That means he's a loudmouth. Real loud and strong, talking about nothing if he's not in love. The book of Revelations is 7 letters. They were written for Yahweh's people. And Yahweh Shua is identified as the faithful witness. Yahweh's people are of a lineage of Hebrews. It's a genetic people. These letters are written to a genetic people. And Yahweh Shua says that these things must shortly take place. They must come to pass. He says these things must. The point about Revelations is it is urgent. There's a sense of urgency in all of these letters. And we today are only being urgent now because they're running scared with coronavirus. You're supposed to be urgent every day. Urgently seeking the face of Yahweh Shua. Urgently monitoring the relationship you have with him. Not because of some rigged crisis by a bunch of Luciferians. This country and the whole world is in an insurmountable amount of debt and cannot come out of it. Nobody's talking about the debt. We know the mark of the beast is all about buying and selling. Right now, you are hampered in going out to buy and sell. Everybody in the world is hampered. Everybody in the whole world is hampered. And there's an economic crisis going on because of what? We cannot buy and sell. Why? Because of this virus. And this country's already in a insurmountable debt, and nobody's talking about it. Go outside right now and look above your head. Stop looking at their cell phone so much. And over your head, you see overcast every day. We're living in one season. You can't tell one season from the next, and you're living in a country and in a world of insurmountable debt. And you're not serious about these times? Or are you going to wait till COVID comes and make you serious? Yahweh Shua said these things must come to pass. Not going to get another 400 plus years. You're not getting that. You don't have that much time to wake up. I want to read something from Ezekiel 20 before I go into Smyrna. Ezekiel 20, 33 to 39. And it reads, Ezekiel 20, 33 to 39. And once again, I'm operating remotely. No one's allowed into the station. I'm hoping to get better at doing this. I have many guests lined up, and it's more difficult to do this remotely. So I'm trying my best here, do what I can. I thank Jason, who's trying to help me as best as he can, and we'll see how it goes. Just pray for me, pray for Yahweh for Christians, and that I can get better and better at this. So, what does Ezekiel say? 33, 39. As I live, says the sovereign Yahweh. And in the book of Ezekiel, Yahweh proclaims himself as a sovereign Yahweh more than any other place than all the other Bible combined. All the other 65 books combined does not use the identifier as sovereign Yahweh more than Ezekiel does by himself. That alone tells you something. It should tell you that he's letting you know it is him who's speaking. And he's putting an emphasis on it. And he says that surely with a mighty hand and with an outstretched arm and with fury poured out, I will rule over you. I will bring you out from the peoples and gather you out of the countries where you are scattered, with a mighty hand and with an outstretched arm and with fury poured out. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the peoples, and there I will plead my case with you face to face, just as I pleaded my case with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Mizraim. So I will plead my case with you, says the sovereign Yahweh. I will make you pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. I will purge the rebels from among you, and those who transgress against me, I will bring them out of the country where they dwell, but they will not enter the land of Israel. Then you will know that I am the sovereign Yahweh. As for you, O house of Israel, says the sovereign Yahweh. See how he keeps emphasizing that? You serve every one of you his idols. And hereafter, if you will not obey me, but profane my Kodesh name, no more with your gifts and your idols. So Yahweh is going to vet out Hebrews. He's going to start with his judgment with Hebrews. And he's going to vet out those who call on his name, but they do so with idolatry. We just came from the unleavened bread. Too many Hebrews are mixing Yahweh's name. Too many Hebrews are calling him by some other name, or altering his name. Too many Hebrews are not real, and that brings us right to the called out ones of Smyrna. Let me read in its entirety the verses that Yochanan penned to the Malachim to send to the assemblies of Smyrna. And it reads in Revelations 2, 8 through 11. And to the Malachim of the assemblies in Smyrna write, these things says the first and the last, who was dead and who came to life. I know your works, tribulation and poverty, but you are rich. And I know the blasphemy of those who say they are Yehuda and are not, but are the synagogue of Shaitan. Do not fear any of those things which you are about to suffer. Indeed, the devil is about to throw some of you into prison, that you may be tested, and you will have tribulation 10 days. Be faithful until death, and I will give you the crown of life. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Ruach has to say to the assemblies. He who overcomes will not be hurt by the second death. A couple of things in here that people read and it goes over their head. In all of these messages, number one, remember, the Malachim left the island of Patmos and personally read these things, these letters, to each assembly. And the thing they say is, he who has an ear, let him hear. That means individual responsibility. That means personal responsibility. That means it doesn't matter who you're worshiping under, who you're following. You are personally responsible for this message. That's what he who has an ear, let him hear means. That means you who heard this must shema. You must obey. You must do. And this has nothing to do with who you're married to or who your pastor is. You're responsible for this. And the timeline is specific. What passes over many people's heads is this 10 days. It says that you'll be tested and you will have the tribulation for 10 days. Why 10 days? Once again, most people are not following the Kodesh Feast of Yahweh. He has feast days, and everything that he has to tell us happens around those feast days, and they are specific. And right now, you got a whole host of Hebrews who are celebrating Passover, unleavened bread, in the next couple of weeks at the time of Easter. Way off target, and they are missing the message. They're going to be weeks too late. Passover is over, and the week of unleavened bread is over. They're following those who say they're Yehuda and are not. Hebrews who are following those who say they are Yehuda and are not are off target. They're keeping the feast days at the wrong time. And this is important because all of Yahweh's revelation comes during his feast days. And what about this one? Why 10 days? 10 days marks from the Feast of Tabernacles to the Day of Atonement. There's 10 days between the Feast of Trumpets, I'm sorry, my apologies. The Feast of Trumpets and the Day of Atonement is 10 days. So the believers in Smyrna are going to suffer from the time of the Feast of Trumpets, which is coming up next, and the Day of Atonement, which is when you're supposed to, the one day of the year you're commanded to fast. But if you are celebrating Passover, unleavened bread, during the Easter, in the next couple of weeks, you're already missing this. You're already missing this. And based on, and I'm not saying Yahweh Shua is coming this year, because based on what we're reading in Revelation, it's not happening this year, but it's happening at this time. These time periods is when you need to look. But the 10 days for Smyrna to be under this persecution comes from the Feast of Trumpets to Day of Atonement. You must keep the feast days at their appointed times, as given by Yahweh Shua in the Torah, not by the calendar, by those who say they're Hebrews and are not. And who are they? Because today, everybody and his uncle knows about Yahweh. Everybody's claiming to be Ephraim. The awakening has been happening tremendously since the mid-90s. You got your white brothers, your Jewish brothers, and your black brothers. Everybody is embracing the name of Yahweh. Everybody's now thinks they know it and they got it. And you're hearing adulterations of his name. It's never been so easier in life ever to talk to somebody about Yahweh, because they already know, quote unquote. We have a lot of people who say they are Ibarit and are not. If you're not speaking in the unleavened Kodesh name of Yahweh Shua, you're not Ibarit, and you're going to be vetted out. If you're not keeping the feast days at the appointed times, you're not true Ibarit, and you will be vetted out. If you are into this world and its holidays and its concerns for money, you're not true Ibarit, and you will be vetted out. You see in here, it says that they blaspheme. And it's blasphemous. These are people who say, Yahweh, Yahweh, we're doing things in your name. But he says they are blasphemous. And it's blasphemous to call Yahweh by some other name and call him by his name, or mixing his name. You don't call your wife by different names. You don't mix your wife's name. How long will that relationship last? It will not last. And do you think it's going to last with Yahweh, that you can call him by different names or mixing his name with other names? It won't happen. You will be vetted out. He says, he who has an ear, let him hear what Ruach has to say to you. This is for individual message for everyone who calls themselves Yahudim, who calls themselves Ibarit, who says they love Yahweh Yeshua with all their heart, might, and soul, and do not call him by his name only. You cannot mix it with the Christian names or the pagan names. You cannot do that. Now, there is a group of people who specifically claim that they are the Yahudite, and that is your big brother, the Edomites. Yet they refuse to call on his name, and they block you from calling on it. When Yahweh Yeshua confronted them, they covered their ears when he said, Hiya Yahweh. Hiya Yahweh, I am Yahweh, or I am. And that kicked them to the heart. They covered their ears and ran to try to kill him. Anyone who hates the name of Yahweh is an enemy of Yahweh. Some of the good things about the Smyrna was that they went through the trials. They weathered some of the trials. They vowed poverty, even though they really were rich. They may have looked poor up front, but they still had their stocks and bonds. They still had their businesses. They still had influence in the economics of the world. So they really weren't poor. Their trials, many of their trials, come against their wealth. Not even against flesh and blood, but against their wealth. And for that, they blaspheme. They blaspheme Yahweh's name and call themselves righteous. But there is hope for you who worship in an assembly like Smyrna. If you receive him in faithfulness, be faithful as he says, you can't receive the crown of life, but you must hear. You had Ephesus with no love, get out. You had Smyrna who's using Yahweh's name and mixing it with other nations' names. You need to get out. You need to get out. There is no mixing, no labeling of the Most High's name. There is no adultering of the name Yahweh Yeshua. You have Yahweh and you have Yahweh Yeshua. You have Ruach HaKodesh. There's no mixing of anything else in those names if you want to be into the kingdom. And it's not to say anything against anyone else who's trying, who's learning. But we do know that Yahweh hates mixing. We do know that Yahweh's eyes are 10 times brighter than the sun. He sees through all things. We do know that his word is pure and unleavened. How can we, and we do know how we feel when someone misnames us. It's all about the name of Yahweh Yeshua. And his name is a high tower. The righteous run into it and are safe. Are you safe right now? Are you safe right now when the whole world is in crisis? The whole world is in crisis right now, under the shadow of overcast, all over the world, overcast, covering up the dome, all over the world, every nation you go into, in debt. Where are you going to run? Where are you going to hide? You can't even buy gloves. You can't even buy hand sanitizer. You can't even buy toilet paper. You're losing your jobs. You're seeking the government for monies so you can buy and sell. Are you taking this seriously now? Are you going to wait till now to take this seriously? This should be taken seriously every day you wake up. These letters were written with urgency. Through each letter, Yahweh Shua says these things must happen. And he said it must happen shortly, quickly, with urgency and sincerity. Wake up. Wake up, Yisrael. Wake up. Going to Psalms 74 and 8. I want to read Psalms 74 and 8. Psalm 74 and 8 reads, "They said in their hearts, let us destroy them altogether. They have burned up all the meeting places of Elohim in the land." Our meeting places are being attacked. The places we go, Yahweh says, do not forsake the assembling of yourselves. The places we go to worship are being attacked. They're being destroyed. We're being told not to congregate, not to come together. I still go and worship. Do not let the government, who doesn't even want you to worship Yahweh in the first place, tell you not to worship. Do not let the world's fear and anxiety come on you. If you are in Yahweh, 1,000 will fall at your left and 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. No harm will befall you, nor will any plague come upon your dwelling. For he will give his Malachim charge over you to keep you in all your ways. So do not worry, do not fret about your own personal well-being, because no weapon formed against you. And it says against you, that means the weapon has your name on it, but it cannot prosper against you in the name of Yahweh Shua. Go to your places of worship. Take precaution, of course, but you should always be taking precautions. But do not keep yourself from assembling in the name of Yahweh Shua. You only need 2 or 3 together in Yahweh's name. That's all you need. Come together and worship in spirit and in truth. Do not isolate yourself and stay by yourself at home with no brother or sister to encourage you, or no brother and sister for you to encourage. I'm not saying have a whole 1,000 seat church to come together. We don't have Hebrews like that anyway. We only have a few anyway. And those few who in the name of the Most High need to come together and worship. They need to sing. They need to praise Yahweh. They need to exalt one another. They need to comfort one another. They need to encourage one another. They need to come into Yahweh's Bayat with singing and with rejoicing. Those who are of the world need to fear. Those who are outside the covenant need to fear. Those who are not under the blood of Yahweh Shua need to fear. Those who are not protected need to fear. Those who are not protected need to run and hide. Those who are in Yahweh stand strong and firm. The righteous are not moved. The righteous are not moved. So Yahweh does recognize that the believers of Smyrna had some persecution, and not a lot, but they have been persecuted. And they're the only ones of the 7 assemblies that have been called out in this way for persecution, with a specific timeline, 10 days. 10 days. So that makes you need to perk your ears up for the Feast of Trumpets and Atonement. You need to listen. You need to shema. You need to hear. So here we go with the third. Next week we're going to talk about Pergamos. These are the ones who settled in the world. Pergamos are the ones that settled in the world. Until next week, Yahonotan that week view here, YahwehForChristian@gmail.com, 443-306-3518. Shalom, shalom.